It's funny, looking back, how something so utterly humiliating could be the exact moment everything finally clicked into place. I never thought feeling this free, this truly myself, would come after my boyfriend's entire family walked in on me in my underwear. It took that level of public mortification, followed by a deeply unfair confrontation, for me to finally see how much of myself I had quietly, slowly, given away. For years, I'd been living with Owen since I was 19, and honestly, he's not a bad guy. He's not, a problem to live with. But I missed having my own space. I missed my old rituals, especially one really specific one, spending a whole weekend baking in my lingerie. Yeah, I know, it sounds a little silly when I say it out loud, but it makes me feel pretty. It makes me feel alive. I'd put on loud music, like, really loud, and just dance, singing along, maybe even pretending I was some Victoria's Secret model or a rock star. Super embarrassing, I know, but it was my secret joy. And, of course, the kitchen would become a glorious, flour-dusted chaos. My dresses would be strewn across the living room. Owen isn't a fan of loud music. And he definitely doesn't care for my cupcakes, which, honestly, are amazing. So, I hadn't done my little baking ritual in ages. But that weekend, Owen told me he was going to visit his parents to sort out some property stuff. The house was all mine. I was so excited. I even locked the door, just to really solidify that feeling of being gloriously, completely alone. It was Sunday afternoon. What a feeling! By One Direction was blasting, so loud I could feel the floorboards vibrate. I was in my lacy lingerie, the really nice stuff, which, in hindsight, was just adding insult to injury, totally lost in my own world, dancing around the kitchen. What I didn't know was that Owen had decided to surprise me. He hadn't mentioned anything, just planned to show up with his entire family, his mom, Eleanor, his dad, Robert, and his sister Sophia's 2 kids, Leo and Max, who are maybe 10 years old. He used his key. I never heard them come in, not over the music, not over my enthusiastic belting of pop songs. One minute I was mid-twirl, covered in flour, probably with a smear of frosting on my cheek, and the next, there they were. The entire family, standing in the doorway between the living room and the kitchen. I froze, literally, in a dance pose. Like an absolute idiot. The pure, unadulterated shock, the heat that rushed to my face. I just screamed, sorry. Wasn't expecting anyone, and ran for our bedroom, fumbling for clothes. Owen came in right after me, and he was furious. He yelled that I was acting like a child, that I'd embarrassed him beyond belief. His parents refused to stay. Eleanor called me all sorts of names, going on about how the kids had seen everything, which made me feel sick with guilt. Owen still barely talking to me, and apparently, Sophia told him to make me behave. For days after, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying it. On one hand, I'd been told I had the house to myself. I locked the door. I'd planned to clean up before Owen came home. And his mom, her words really cut deep. But then, there's their perspective. I must have looked like a complete mess, the house was a disaster, and there I was, half naked, dancing. Owen just wanted to do something nice, to surprise me. Maybe I was in the wrong. Maybe I should apologize. But something shifted in me, after all that. After talking to a friend, Sarah, and just letting myself think. I started to realize. Owen's reaction, his family's reaction, it was disproportionate. It was wrong. He never defended me. His mom, Eleanor, had said some truly awful things. It hit me like a wave. I didn't have to wait for Owen to be gone to listen to my music, to bake, to just be. I didn't need permission to do things I liked. I didn't need to worry constantly about making someone angry. I'd gotten so used to suppressing these parts of myself, parts that made me feel happy and free. So, a few days after all that, I told Owen we needed to talk. I said I was staying with Sarah for a while. He didn't even seem to remember what I was referring to, which just made me even angrier. How could he forget something that big? I told him I was upset with how he'd treated me, how he'd let his family treat me. I told him I shouldn't have to hide who I was, or what I enjoyed, just because he didn't like it. He tried to convince me to stay, but I left. I think he finally understood I wasn't going to let this go, not like all the other things I'd ignored. We met at a coffee shop recently. For the first time since I've known him, Owen cried. He apologized. He said he messed up, that he realized his mistakes, and that he would change. He even said he'd talked to his mom, that he should have defended me. And he was right, he absolutely should have. I told him I was moving out. I needed space. I told him we should take a break, to see if we're even compatible anymore. I still love him, I do, but I need to find myself again. I need to feel like Chloe again, not just Owen's girlfriend who bakes in secret. It feels good. It feels so free. I'm making cupcakes right now, actually. Because I can. Has anything like that ever happened to you, where a moment of pure mortification ended up being a turning point?